My name's Mark Taylor, and after 20 years serving as a Navy SEAL, I finally thought I'd earned a quiet life. No missions, no gunfire, no adrenaline, just the steady rhythm of ordinary days. My wife, Emily, and I bought a modest home in a gated Texas community called Silver Pines, a place that promised safety, smiles, and perfect lawns. Every morning, Emily tended her roses while sunlight spilled over the white fences. She'd wave to the neighbors, always believing kindness could keep the world gentle. I spent my afternoons in the garage workshop fixing tools, repairing bikes, and teaching a few neighborhood kids how to stand their ground. For the first time in decades, I could breathe. I told myself the war was over, that peace had finally followed me home. But peace is fragile, and in Silver Pines, it was about to be shattered by the people next door. At first, Silver Pines felt like paradise. Everyone waved, lawns were green, and the HOA sent friendly reminders instead of threats. But that changed the day Greg Wilson took over. Greg wasn't your average neighbor. Expensive suits, shiny car, fake smile. He called himself a community developer, which really meant control freak with a clipboard. Within weeks, he rewrote half the neighborhood rules. Grass couldn't be taller than 2 inches, trash bins had to be hidden, and flags, even the American flag, required written approval. Most people grumbled but obeyed. Emily and I tried to stay under the radar, trimming hedges and keeping quiet. But Greg had plans to upgrade Silver Pines, and he didn't like homeowners who questioned authority. Soon, he hired a group of so-called HOA enforcers. They weren't your usual security guards. These were heavy-set men in black polos who walked around like soldiers on patrol, except they weren't protecting anyone. They were watching. It started on a quiet Saturday morning. Emily was watering her roses when 2 enforcers appeared at our gate. One of them, a tall man with mirrored sunglasses, barked, "You're in violation. Garden height exceeds regulation." Emily, being her gentle self, smiled politely. "Sir, these are flowers, not a fence," she said, trying to keep the peace. But they ignored her, stepping into our yard uninvited and snapping photos. I was in the garage when I heard her voice rise, not angry, just scared. By the time I got outside, they were standing in her garden, trampling the soil she loved. "Step back," I said firmly. My tone wasn't loud, but it carried weight, the kind that comes from years of command. They smirked, one muttering, "Relax, old man, we're just doing our job." I looked at Emily, her hands shaking, petals crushed at her feet. That's when I knew something was changing in Silver Pines. This wasn't about roses anymore. It was about control. A week later, it happened. I was out picking up supplies when Emily called. Her voice trembled. "Mark, they're here again." Before I could respond, the line went dead. I drove home faster than I should have. When I turned the corner, I saw 2 HOA trucks parked on my lawn and 3 enforcers dismantling our small wooden fence. Emily stood between them, tried to reason with them, her voice cracking. One of the men shoved her aside. She stumbled, hitting the concrete hard. The sound of her cry hit me like a gunshot. I slammed the truck door and sprinted. My old instincts took over. The first man barely turned before I had his arm twisted behind his back, face against the hood. The others froze. Emily sat on the ground, clutching her wrist, tears mixing with dirt. My chest burned, not from exertion, but rage I hadn't felt since combat. The police arrived minutes later, but the enforcers lied, claiming she attacked them. The officer said it was a misunderstanding and filed no report. That night, as I held Emily's hand, I made myself a promise. They wanted to play dirty? Fine. I'd show them what happens when you corner a man trained to fight back. The next few days were quiet, too quiet. Emily tried to move on, but I could see the fear every time a car slowed near our driveway. I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. Years of military discipline turned that fury into precision. I installed new cameras, updated locks, and reached out to an old friend, a lawyer named Rick, who specialized in property disputes. We pulled HOA records, scanned Greg's contracts, and started building a case. What we found was worse than I expected. Fake invoices, unlicensed contractors, even bribes to city officials. Every night, I sat in the dark, watching surveillance feeds glow across the screen. This wasn't revenge anymore. It was justice, and I'd deliver it like a mission, clean, silent, unstoppable. Phase 1, surveillance. I used motion-activated drones to record every violation. The enforcers trespassing, Greg giving illegal orders, even them harassing other neighbors. Phase 2, exposure. I gathered everything and handed it to a local journalist who owed me a favor. Within a week, whispers spread. Something's wrong with Silver Pines. Phase 3, confrontation. I invited Greg to my property under the guise of resolving the misunderstanding. He arrived with his usual arrogance, flanked by his enforcers. Cameras hidden across my yard recorded every second. "Mr. Taylor," he said, "you can't intimidate the HOA." I smiled. "No, Greg, you can't break the law and expect silence." I handed him a folder, printed emails, signed bribes, and surveillance stills. For the first time, Greg's smile faltered. He tried to laugh it off, but I'd already sent copies to the county office, the journalist, and my lawyer. I wasn't the man who started this fight, but I was damn sure going to finish it. The next morning, Greg returned, this time with his enforcers again, pretending it was a routine inspection. Emily stayed inside while I waited on the porch, coffee mug in hand. They tried to step onto my lawn. "Careful," I said quietly. "You're being filmed from 6 different angles." The biggest one sneered. "You think cameras scare us?" I put the mug down and stepped forward. "No," I said. "I do." He lunged, a mistake. In one move, I sidestepped, caught his wrist, and pinned him effortlessly against the gate. No punches, no shouting, just control. His face twisted in pain as I leaned close. That's called restraint. Learn it. Sirens echoed down the street. My lawyer had already tipped off the police. They arrived to find Greg's men trespassing again, and this time, everything was on record. The war for Silver Pines was officially over. Within days, the story broke. The local paper ran the headline, "HOA corruption exposed by retired Navy SEAL." Investigations followed. Greg was charged with fraud, harassment, and embezzlement. The HOA board dissolved. The enforcers lost their licenses. Neighbors who once whispered started thanking us. Emily smiled again, her garden blooming brighter than before. Greg tried to confront me once more, shouting across the street that I'd ruined him. I just looked at him and said, "No, Greg, you did that yourself." For the first time in months, Silver Pines was quiet again. Peaceful. Real. Sometimes battles don't happen in deserts or jungles. Sometimes they're fought in cul-de-sacs and driveways. I never wanted a fight. I only wanted peace. But when peace is threatened, the warrior inside doesn't disappear. He remembers. I fought overseas to protect freedom, and I'd do it again, even if it's just to protect the woman I love and the home we built together. Silver Pines sleeps easy now, and every morning, when Emily waters her roses, I'm reminded that